Hi and welcome to the channel. My name is Momo. In this particular video, we'll learn how to apply for your KRA PIN. I'll give you a step-by-step process for the individual as well as for the company. Let's get those credits rolling. Now, if you are above 18, one of the documents that you will require that is mandatory is an ID, an identity card, but that's not the focus on this video. The focus of this video is how to get your KRA PIN. KRA stands for the Kenya Revenue Authority. This is a government organization whose main work is to collect taxes on behalf of the government. And the way they are able to do this is by following up on every single individual and company that they have filed the correct taxes. Every single time when you are doing your shopping, you'll probably see 16% VAT. If someone is employed, you will see PAYE, which is pay as you earn tax. All these taxes are gathered by the government because they are able to track you using your PIN. Now, the PIN stands for Personal Identification Number. This is a unique number that you are given that identifies you. For individuals, it begins with an A and ends with a letter. And for companies, it starts with a P and ends with a letter as well. So the KRA PIN is used just to make sure that every single person has filed their taxes, and there are specific places where you go to where you need to have your KRA PIN in order to do a transaction. This includes the registration of titles and stamping of instruments, approval of development plans and payment of water deposits, registration of motor vehicles, transfer of motor vehicles, and licensing of motor vehicles as well. Then if you want to register your business, like I talked about in the video above, you will still need to have a KRA PIN. If you want to register your company, if you're doing underwriting of insurance policies where you want to take a particular policy, a PIN is mandatory. Trade licensing, importation of goods and customs clearing and forwarding, you will need to have a KRA PIN. Payment of deposits for power connections, all contracts for supply of goods and services to the government ministries and public bodies, a KRA PIN is a must. And even opening of bank accounts with financial institutions and investment banks, that will also require you to have a KRA PIN. So just from the requirements that I have just listed, you will see that a KRA PIN is extremely crucial if you're going to do any meaningful transactions in Kenya. Even when you're applying for a passport, which I talked about in another video, which I'll place up here, you will need to have a KRA PIN. So in the next part of this video, I'll actually tell you the requirements for you to apply for a KRA PIN depending on what you do. This is current information as of November of 2020, so it may change in future. If anything substantial changes, I'll actually do a separate video just to address that. For companies, in order for you to apply for KRA PIN, these are the documents that you require. You require the CR12, a copy of it. The CR12 is a document that shows all the directors and their shareholding. You'll also need the certificate of incorporation, a copy as well, a copy of the memorandum and articles of association. This is optional because, as we talked about in another video, you may use the model articles of association in order for you to be able to do this. You will need a copy of the PIN certificate of the directors, a tax compliance certificate of one of the company directors, and a copy of the acknowledgement receipt as well. If you have a partnership, then you need a copy of the acknowledgement receipt, PIN certificate for one of the partners. They already need to have a KRA PIN themselves. A deed of partnership is optional, but you can use it, as well as a tax compliance certificate of one of the partners. If you are doing as an individual, then you just need your ID. And the next thing we are going to is a site to apply for an individual. and then later we'll now do for a business, and you'll be able to see the breakdown as well. So the next thing that now we are doing is to go to the iTax site, and then we will apply. So here we are on the site. Of course, for myself, I already have a KRA PIN, but on the site you'll be able to see here where it says new PIN registration. To get a new PIN, click here, and that's what we are going to do. Click on the PIN, and then we have different taxpayer types, where I will now select and say individual or non-individual. So individual is a person, a natural person. You have your ID. Me and you, we are individuals. So if you have a company, you have a partnership, then you'll click on non-individual, which I'll show you later. But here we go to under individual, and then under mode of registration, there is online form and there is upload form. I would prefer that you use the online form because it's much faster. So that's what we'll select at this place, and then click on next. And then we go under citizenship, basic information that we are looking for. Citizenship is Kenyan or non-Kenyan resident or non-Kenyan non-resident. These are all people that require to have their own KRA PIN. So in this case, we'll pick Kenyan. And then once you've clicked on Kenyan, it now shows all your details. The next place that it asks for you is, do you want to register for TOT? So TOT is turnover tax, which is a new tax that was introduced last year in 2019, which is for small business owners. Instead of them having to pay the 30% that is usually done by companies, they can pay 3% of their gross value TOT. So in this case, we'll say no. Then if you're an employee, it's very easy just to do this. You'll now look at where exactly would you fall under this place. So you may be a senior government official, different professionals, service workers, transport, craft and related trades workers, plant and machine operators and fishery workers, agriculture, mining, construction, manufacturing, and students. So for most people who will be applying for the KRA PIN, they may be students, because that's where it all starts. Because when you're applying for HELB, you'll actually require it. That's the major group, that you're a student. Then the subgroup now is, what are you going to be applying for? If you're going to campus, then you can click on degree, and then minor group here, you can say 6 years. So this means that your classification here as a student will stay for the next 6 years, and then after that you will need to actually update it here. So the next thing that you do is now place your ID number. I can't do this myself because I already have one, but when you place in your ID number, it will actually populate all these gray fields that you're actually seeing here. It will pick this from the national database that is already there. Whatever you had already registered for your ID, it will auto-populate here. And then the details of parents will actually show up. If you have a spouse, then you can actually fill this in, and where you actually stay. So your LR number is not mandatory because not many people know their LR number. That's your plot number. You don't have to put that, but the building you stay in, or the street or road, the city you stay in, and your county. So here we can come and say county, Nairobi, and district here. So once you place in the county, it will bring in the district, so where you actually stay. And then here we'll say Embakasi, for instance, and the tax area here. Now you'll say exactly where you stay. I'll put in South B, and then town here you need to put in Nairobi, and principal postal address. Here you can put in your church, or you can place in your own postal address. There is a service which I will talk about in a future video known as M-Post, where you can be able to have your own postal address, and you wouldn't need a physical one, but here just indicate the postal address that you usually use. Then your contact details, which is your mobile number here. Mobile number here we say 0711 123 456, and then email address we say a@b.com. And then you would say, would you like to subscribe or unsubscribe to receiving alerts through SMS? You can say subscribe, which means that they can be able to send you any messages on your phone. Then do you have an alternate address? Here you say yes or no. Then would you like to declare your bank account for tax refunds? You say yes or no. If you have a bank account, you can actually place it here. But if it's your first time to apply for a KRA PIN, then that means you don't even have a bank account. So that's okay. Then would you like to declare your relationship with any taxpayer? This is usually important if you are married. You can actually place it here. If you say yes, it will bring in the type of bond where you can say legal representative, next of kin, referee, or spouse. If you have a spouse, you can actually be able to place them here and add, and then that bond will actually appear. Then upload supporting document for registration. Like we had talked about, if you are doing a company, you would do this, but since it's individual, you can take a photo of your ID and then we click on next. Then here under obligation details part B, there are two main types: income tax resident and income tax payee. Since we clicked on Kenyan, that means that non-resident is checked out, and we are not applying for turnover tax, so that's grayed out as well. So for every Kenyan, what you'll just need to do is click on income tax resident. Once you've clicked on it, it will ask for registration date. You can place our date today, and then do not include value added tax. I need to repeat that. Do not include value added tax when you are applying for individual. Because when you include value added tax, that means that you need to be filing your returns every single month, and value added tax is usually applied for if your business is doing 5 million and above in a year. So do not apply for value added tax. I've seen, especially when people go to cyber cafes, the person is just absent-minded, they just click on value added tax, then later you'll find you have so many tax arrears and penalties. You'll have so many tax arrears and penalties that have been placed there by KRA because you did not file value added tax, and that could actually harm you in future. Once you have indicated this, you click on next. Then what are your sources of income? Here you'll indicate whether you're getting employment income. If you're a student, that will be no. If you're employed, then employment income will be yes. If you're a business person, then business income will be yes. If you're getting rental income, indicate yes. So here, just for example, we'll say yes, and then it will ask you for the PIN of your employer. This is important because it will actually link whatever the employer is submitting to KRA. You will also have it on your record as well. There's a video I did about filing of returns, which I'll place in the card up here. When it gets time for applying for tax returns, you can be able to watch that as well. So here we'll say no. If you're doing business, if we click on yes, it will actually ask you for the details of your business, the business registration certificate, and your business name, when you began the business, when you registered the business, the full address of the business, does it report VAT or not, which I have indicated. Do you have another additional place for business? You'll actually indicate that as well. Then you also list the sector of the economy where you are involved. Here there are different businesses, and you can be able to check where your business actually falls in. And for this example, let's just say agriculture, forestry, and fishing. The group, whatever you're doing. So in this case, let's say animal production. The description, you're raising cattle, or let's say sheep. And then the type here is primary, which means that's your primary business, and then you'll click on add and then say next. On this part D, if you have someone who you want to authorize to be submitting applications on behalf of yourself, then you actually place them here. They need to be a registered tax agent. If they are, then you can actually place them here. But for most people, this will not happen. For this sum, you'll just need to put the answer, and then you'll click on submit. So that's the way to actually apply for a KRA PIN if you are an individual. So for any company, this is what you do. On the first place, you place in the taxpayer type, non-individual. Mode of registration, you say online form, and then you click on next. Then it will ask you for your business type. So under business type, you'll have company, non-governmental organization, international organization, diplomatic organization, government institution, and others. So for most, it will be company. And then the business subtype, it's a private company for most people. And then you'll indicate your business registration certificate, which is the certificate of registration. You can actually check there. And then the name of the business, and when you registered the business and when you began the business. Then accounting period, end month, usually place December because that's usually the end of the year. For most businesses, the end of the year is in December. For some, it is June, but that's not a problem. Then, does your business have any branches? You can say yes or no. In this case, we'll say no. Do you wish to declare legal representative? I'll say no in this particular case. Then you indicate where your business is actually located, your postal address, and then the principal contact details. Then if you have an alternative address, yes or no. Is the company you are registering a subsidiary company, meaning that that company is registered in another country? Then you'll say yes or no. So this is no because that's the main place where we are. Do you wish to declare your bank account for tax refunds? You'll say yes or no in this case. And then the sector of the economy where you are involved. And then, was your business formed as a result of acquisition or amalgamation? For most businesses, this is no. Once you declare this no, then the documents that we talked about at the beginning of the video, which is the CR12, the certificate of registration, the PIN of one of the owners, the TCC of one of the owners, you'll actually upload them here. Once you've uploaded them here, you'll click on next. Then this is income tax for the company. If your business is going to do revenue of 5 million Kenya shillings or above in 12 months, then you need to register for VAT as well. VAT is filed every single month. It's not filed yearly like income tax, but income tax is done annually. Then you'll need to register for that as well here. Then you'll click on next, and here you'll actually place in the details of the directors. So every single director with their KRA PIN, you'll indicate whether they are a director and their KRA PIN. Once you've indicated the KRA PIN here, it will populate their details on this place. Then you'll click on add to have their details. If you have more than one director, then you'll need to do this until you have done all the directors. Then the next thing that you now come and do is go under next. If you want a tax agent who's authorized to submit any application on behalf of your company, you'll indicate their details here and add them. And then at the very end, you'll do this sum that's here and click on submit. So having a KRA PIN for your company or for the individual is almost mandatory if you want to do business in the country. What you need to do is, whenever you have a KRA PIN, if you have not done any business within the period of the previous year when people are filing their returns, always remember to file nil returns. That's really important because if you don't file your returns, there is a fine by KRA on the same. If you want to learn how to file your returns, then watch this video that is above here. And if you want any other businesses that you can start in 2020, check the playlist down below, and I'll see you in the next one.